Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market. You want to talk about volatile and some swings, and I tell you what, I almost bet money you won't guess what happened at 1 o'clock to drive the market down, because guess what? Most people would not. This is not something that you would think, that would drive a market down. But again, it's a year first. First time I've ever seen this. So let me know in the comments when we get to it if you have. But understand, it was only a handful of stocks. I mean, just driving up the market, and I'll show you why I know that and why you can see it right off the bat if you just keep this on your phone, if you hadn't been looking at the market all day. But understand, we'll go into some charts and everything. Obviously, Tesla's reporting today. As a matter of fact, they just reported as I'm recording this, and wasn't that good. So we'll see what the market makers do overnight with this. Right now, dip buyers are coming in at 195. No shock there. But when you look, it's all about big tech. And the reason why I'm saying that is this is like the earnings you're looking at here and what they're looking as far as growth. And if you notice, Magnificent Seven stocks, right, are continuing to prop this thing up. But what they're expecting as far as growth, look what they're expecting as far as just the Mag 7. It declines, but that's where most of it is. You look at last year, everything else, they'd expect no growth, expecting negative growth. But look at Mag 7 last year, and then look what they're projecting. It continues to go down, but you don't even start seeing a flip until about Q4 right there, where they're expecting the rest of the S&P 500 components to actually start uplifting everything, right? And so a lot is riding on NVDA and Microsoft and Apple and all these big ones, right? You can see right there, I'll zoom in for you because I know that's kind of small. That's why today, what do you see when they were pushing us to all-time highs again? I mean, just tons of sweeps coming in on NVIDIA and Microsoft and the Qs. Google was another one they were coming in on, right? And so we'll look at those charts because they're kind of interesting to look at. And some of them actually, believe it or not, do look good. And some of them are just defying gravity at this point in time. But again, it's AI, semiconductors, and everything else. Now, one ticker, as I was telling members, look, put this in trading view, whatever it is you have, and track this, because this is what I call the Mag 9 of the Qs, right? And so I even had AVGO today. I didn't have it in there, but when I looked at it, I was like, the weight's enough. And what do I mean by that? Why is it important to track this? Because since the market are these stocks, these 9 stocks make up 43% of the Qs or the NASDAQ 100, right? And so as this group of stocks goes, so goes the market on most days. Another one, the reason why you can see what was happening as far as the other stocks, your equal weighted ETFs, which I mentioned, RSP, which is the equal weighted SPY, QQEW, the equal weighted QQQ, and look at them. The RSP is down 1% and the QQEW was down 0.74%, while the Qs were 0.5 to 1% up on the day. It's a big divergence, right? And you might have noticed, if you look right here, we were railing, right? All-time highs. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. 1 o'clock hits. Market bends over, grabs his ankles, and see you later. All day down. It went down the rest of the day. And the question is, what happened at 1 o'clock? And it definitely surprised me. And guys, before we continue, if you can please hit that like button, that little thumbs up down there. Helps people find the video, helps out the channel. And if you like down-to-earth content, talking about the financial markets, don't try to talk over your head, then think about subscribing. And for the first time I can ever remember, it was a 5-year note auction that did not go well. As you can see, that big spike in yields right there at 1 o'clock on a 5-year. It was the 20 and 30 year we were having problems with. But look at all the yields. Look at them spike and keep running the rest of the day. And the market does not like that. That's what I'm saying. When you see a spike and they continue to run up, stocks are going to turn back down. I don't care if you're looking at the 5-year, 2-year, 30-year, 10-year, didn't matter. They all spiked and just kept running the rest of the day. Okay, and so let me know in the comments if you've ever seen that before. And guess what? Very important. Tomorrow, we have a 7-year note auction at 1 o'clock. So I didn't think this would be much, but I guess you know what? I'm going to be paying attention to this and have an alert set at 1 o'clock to see how this goes. Okay, you think the 5-year didn't go that well, you would think the 7-year wouldn't go any better, but an amazing thing to watch there. Now, stocks like Netflix, obviously huge earnings, up over 10%, which is crazy for a stock this size, right? But when you look at it, I mean, honestly, look how this thing's moved up on that trend line. It keeps coming down, revisiting it, broke it once, but for the most part, it's just following those moving averages up there. It's following that trend line up there, and it's not even nowhere near all-time highs. It can go another 20% before it hits all-time highs, unlike a lot of the Mag 7 here, as you can see. And again, it hadn't been some crazy parabolic move up. It's done kind of what Meta's done, where it just kind of stair-stepped its way up. But when you look, where did it stop today? And look over to the left, a weekly fair value gap right there. That's where it stopped. That's where it had its reaction, right? Which is what you should see happen, okay? When you see weekly fair value gaps, daily fair value gaps are just imbalances from buyers and sellers for those who are new. And usually you'll get a reaction off these going both ways, okay? That's what you want to see. And you can see, there's no way in the world I would even ever try to short something like Netflix because, again, it's setting a discount one, it's setting a fair value gap, probably maybe comes down, takes a break at some point in time, but it's just one of those things where since so much money is going into just a handful of stocks, I'm not much on shorting anyway. And again, looking at this thing, could it come back down? You would think after a huge move like that, absolutely. But like I tell the members, when you're in this AI craze and you're in this, they're going to cut rates craze and everything's kind of combining at once and all this money's driving just these few stocks up, I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. I'll just let it keep doing this thing right there. But you can see, when it comes back down, what you want to do is test that fair value gap below it and turn it into an inverse fair value gap, which is something I'm working on right now, kind of getting more of a handle on, and maybe even get that trend line. But if it comes down that trend line, it's already bounced 1, 2, 3. That'd be the 4th time. And so that trend line is strong on Netflix, okay? Now, NVDA, this is what I'm talking about. It's just straight parabolic. This is the daily. This ain't even the weekly, by the way. And you can see, that would be just the weekly. Yeah, this is the weekly. And so again, it's got a trend line. It's falling, but man, this rise right there, oof, boy. And this kind of shows you when you look at this, by the way, is you're trying to figure out where the top's at, right? And you can use fib extension and things like that. But again, this is a hype. Okay, everything's AI, and their earnings have so far, lived up to it, right? Crazy earnings they've been having. But is that going to be where maybe you get a break right there and it starts to come back down right around, what is it, like 680, 690, somewhere up in there? Again, maybe, and we'll look at the fib extensions on Microsoft here. But one thing looking at this chart, and this is what I was telling you about, when you look at bearish RSI divergence, again, doesn't always work out. NVIDIA is the prime example, okay? When something is in this hype, crazy parabolic type move, man, this thing has been sitting there with bearish divergence going on, like 8 months now or some crazy mess, I think. And, again, nothing's happened, right? It just, consolidate, move up, go on a parabolic move, consolidate, move down a little bit, consolidate again, then go on another parabolic move. And so put in the comments where you think, maybe a top will be for short term if we get a pullback in the market. Be interested in knowing. And when you look at Microsoft, using the fib extension on this one, going from that low to that high to that low, this thing still got room to run, and it should do well on earnings, is what I'm thinking, honestly, because it actually has growth and everything. And when you look at it on a daily, let me kind of adjust this here. What's great about this one is, and the reason why I like it way better than Apple, that was the all-time high, the old all-time high. Look how many times it came back down and retested, right? And bounced and bounced and bounced, and then boom, took back off. And what's even greater is when you add in the moving averages, you combine that with the confluence of the 50 moving average we talked about. Remember, Microsoft's not one of those ones that comes down to 200, right? The only time it visits that 200 in the last probably 5 years, if not longer, is during a crash. Okay, besides that, it's the 50 and the 100. That is on a move up, right? When it is in a bull run, the 50 and the 100 are where your money's pretty much at. You'll rarely see, you'll probably never see a 200 unless we're in a crash again or a major pullback, right? And so that one could continue to run. Do a lot of these need to cool off? Abso-freaking-lutely. Okay, yes, that is true. But is that going to happen? That's what we're going to have to find out. Now, Tesla, I'm not going to go into a detailed chart. I'm just going to talk about this as far as, because it's obviously just reported earnings and it's down right now, but when Elon gets on there, that can change. Now, understand, what I'm looking at is the weekly chart here. And when you see these big, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row of red, you bottom out normally and get a pop. The last, I think, 4 times it was down 5 weeks in a row or something. I usually bottom out in that 6th week, and then it got a nice 20 to 30% move. And so we're sitting, I believe this would be the 6th red week if we end up red by Friday. And so, and again, that puts it, at kind of a key level there is where it would put it at. But again, if we stay between, it's funny, I was looking at this today, And if I pull a fib on this, there's a fair value gap right there. And let's see what level we're at when I pull this fib down right here. Looks like the 50 Fibonacci sitting around 200, and then that golden pocket sitting around like 178-ish right there. And so in between that, and so anywhere between that would be a great actually bounce area, because you got the fair value gap, which you should get a bounce off of, plus with some powerful Fibonacci levels. Now, obviously China's been moving up, you might have noticed, but boy, I think they're getting a little desperate now, because now you got them trying to restrict people over there from buying like the QQQ. I think SPY is their versions of this, I believe. And again, what does this do? They said, well, it's not to steer them into Chinese stocks, but let's be honest. I mean, if you're not trying to steer them into Chinese stocks, why would you do this and say, oh, because there's a lot of risk in it and stuff and all that? But it's just another way to try to steer them, and you can guarantee they got ordered by the government to do it, right? Into these right here, right? BABA and C-Web and JD and whatever. I think it's their Mag 4 over there, they call it, if I'm not mistaken. And so again, they're still going up, right? This is that liquidity, everybody loves to speak of, and liquidity does what? It drives markets, right? No matter, it's like the number one driver here is liquidity, 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 okay? And so this is just another way to say, okay, and I couldn't imagine living in a country where they say, hey, sorry. And again, it kind of reminds you of like GameStop, right? When you could only sell it, but you couldn't buy it. And so it happens over here too. So I'm not going to throw stones too hard at them, but it doesn't surprise me, right? And so you might see more money start flowing into these names as well now that that's been restricted. Now, when it comes to earnings, you have a boatload tomorrow, especially with travel. So American Airlines, Alaska, Southwest, all that good stuff, those were running today up into earnings. And then in the afternoon, you'll get Intel, which has had a nice, basically 6 months so far. Visa, which usually always crushes it. That wouldn't surprise me a bit. And then when it comes to the data, we'll have the unemployment claims come out again before the market opens, have some GDP numbers coming out, and then new home sales, and then nat gas storage, which has been kind of a hot topic in the Discord as far as how natural gas is, because how low the prices are. And I believe there's a reverse stock split on UNG. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. And people were kind of wondering how that affects it. And I think in Saturday's video, I told you with individual stocks, it's not good, because the reason why I'm doing a reverse stock split so they can stay on these exchanges. When it comes to an ETF, I believe it was the TLT 3X leverage ETF actually did that, and it didn't affect it at all. So I think ETFs are just different than individual names. And so, and over time, those leverage ETFs usually go down in time anyway. So that's why they have to keep doing that to stay maybe listed or however they do it. But anyway, tomorrow will be interesting. Again, the rest of the Mag 7 really start reporting next week, so those earnings are going to be even more fun. But this is a big earnings season. You see tech is usually doing pretty good, right? Especially bigger companies. And you're seeing a lot of companies on the Dow not doing so good with earnings, correct? So big one there. So I'm expecting, to me, I'll say it, I expect Microsoft to get a beat. I think Apple doesn't really matter because it's Apple. they usually don't guide, and their earnings don't even look that great to begin with. Yet the stock still continues to go up, right? That's usually what happens with Apple. Google, kind of 50-50 on that one. We'll see where that goes. And then I'll think about some others when I do the weekend video Sunday and stuff, and we set up for that. But anyway, hit that like and subscribe button if you got anything out of it, guys. Really appreciate everything. Today was a fun day, and I'll see you tomorrow.